My husband left the house with a quiet smile, taking his keys and walking out without saying much. At that moment, I assumed it was just another argument between us, something temporary, something that would pass like always. I had no idea that I was actually seeing him leave for the final time. I only understood the truth later, when I noticed what he had left behind on the table. That Sunday evening, Emily stepped inside through the front door carrying a suitcase. She looked refreshed, almost radiant, like someone returning from a perfect getaway. Her hair was slightly messy from the wind, her skin carried a warm sun glow, and her smile looked far too bright to feel innocent. She immediately came toward me, wrapping her arms around me and kissing my cheek as if nothing in the world was wrong. "It feels so good to be back," she said with a light laugh while placing her bags down. I returned her smile, but it wasn't genuine. It was controlled, rehearsed, the kind of expression you wear when you already know the truth but are waiting for the other person to expose themselves. "How was your trip with the girls?" I asked. "It was incredible," she replied too quickly. "We went hiking, tried wine tasting, just normal girls' activities." I nodded slowly. "Sounds nice." Then I leaned casually against the counter and asked in a calm voice, "So, did you and Mike enjoy yourselves too?" Her expression changed instantly. The smile disappeared for just a fraction of a second, but it was enough. That small moment of panic told me everything I needed to know. "Mike? Who's Mike?" she said, trying to sound confused. But her voice shook slightly. That crack gave her away. I stayed silent for a moment, watching her closely as she struggled to act normal while opening her suitcase with unsteady hands, almost as if the movement could erase the tension in the room. "You know exactly who I'm talking about," I finally said. "The man you called 3 times at 1:14 in the morning, while your phone's location showed you weren't even with your friends. You were at a beach resort miles away." Her face went pale. "You went through my phone?" I let out a faint, cold smile. "No, Emily. You were the one who broke my trust." She slowly sank into a chair, her breathing uneven. "It's not what it looks like," she whispered. I had heard that line before. It never meant innocence, only exposure. "Then explain it to me," I said quietly. "Because from where I stand, my wife went on a girls' trip with a man I was never told about." Tears started forming in her eyes, but I didn't react. I had already seen this pattern before, emotions arriving only when lies collapse. Piece by piece, the truth came out. Mike was someone from her past job. They reconnected. One drink turned into dinner, and dinner turned into a weekend that should never have happened. I listened without interrupting, every word feeling like another crack forming in something that once felt solid between us. When she finally stopped talking, I asked only one thing. Was it worth it? She looked at me through tear-filled eyes and shook her head weakly. I nodded once. "Good, because now it costs you everything." I walked down the hallway, where my bags were already packed, waiting by the door. She stared at them in disbelief, as if she couldn't process what was happening. "You're leaving?" she asked, voice breaking. "I already did," I answered. "The papers are on the table. I signed them days ago." Her eyes widened. "You filed for divorce?" "Yes," I said calmly. "I just needed confirmation. Now I have it." She rushed toward me, grabbing my arm. "It didn't mean anything. It was just a mistake." I gently pulled away. "You don't accidentally destroy someone who trusted you completely." Her voice broke into louder sobs, filling the house with regret. But I didn't shout, and I didn't argue anymore. I simply picked up my bags and walked out, leaving her behind with the consequences of her decisions. In the weeks that followed, she tried everything: calls, messages, even showing up at my workplace. I never responded. Every apology sounded the same, but none of them could repair what was already gone. Time passed, and I eventually moved into a small apartment overlooking the city. It was simple, but peaceful. No lies. No pretending. Just silence. Later, I heard from a mutual friend that Mike had left town and ended things with her soon after. The irony wasn't lost on me. She had destroyed her marriage for someone who never planned to stay. One day, she sent a long email filled with regret, asking for forgiveness. I read every line, then closed it without replying. At the end, she wrote that I had been the only person who ever truly loved her. Maybe that was true. But love without loyalty becomes pain, and I had already endured enough of it. Now, when I look back, I realize that my question that night about Mike was never anger.
It was acceptance.
I didn't need to shout or prove anything. The moment she walked in, her truth had already ended everything. Because once trust breaks, nothing remains the same again.